first, we need to establish the evening attendance, and I see that we have everyone on the Ethics Commission here. We have 5 regular members and 2 alternates, and the 2 alternates are seated here to hear the conversation. If and should we come to a determination tonight, the alternates do not vote. The 5 regular members vote. Does that work for everyone? Good. So, I don't have to introduce us. We're all identified. Want to just start, state your name, that'll give you practice using your mic. We'll start.
Sarah Gilman-Malari, alternate.
Chris Nana, primary.
Alan Messier, primary.
Betsy Ritter, member, I'm the chair.
Adam Stone, commission member.
Kathy Patterson, commission member.
Paul Helvig, alternate.
Thank you. I just want to repeat a few things quickly. I think for the record, I'm probably required to do this. Thank you. At this time, we will observe the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As required by ordinance, the hearing is being recorded. That is the video recording, and a transcript, that would be the video, will be made available to the public via the Ethics Commission site, as was last week's. As you probably remember, we are here to complete our deliberations on 8 ethics complaints, and those ethics complaints were all made by the same complainant, Danielle Stewart Delinas, against 4 respondents, 2 complaints per respondent, and those respondents are Mary Childs, Tim Fioravanti, Kristen Gonzalez, and Kayla Mullen. At the last meeting, we heard extensive testimony from the complainant, from the respondents, and discussion and questions from the commission. When we closed that hearing, we were up to item 8 on our agenda, which is the commission's determination of future action and/or final determination. We continued the hearing because we had been presented with written testimony and other information from respondents and other interested parties at the hearing, and the commission had not had time to review or digest it, and felt that it was not responsible to then make a decision without doing that. I would like to ask the commission if it's appropriate for us to revert to item 7, hearing of the complaints, in case there is additional information that anybody, and this would be new information, please, would like to submit to us. And that would be from the complainant, then from the respondents, and if there's any additional information or questions that have to come from the commission. Is that agreeable to the others? Yes. So that sets us back to item 7, continuing the hearing itself of the complaints. Before I go any further, I would like to point out that the written information that was submitted last week has also been posted and made available to the public, and there are copies of it in the back at the table if anybody wishes to review it. The commission, I believe, has received every document here. Is that correct? I just want to make sure I haven't left any of it out. I will be happy to quickly review what's in the packet, but perhaps perhaps some of that information, however, did not come from the complainant or the respondent. So perhaps let's start with the complainant, then ask each respondent if they want to speak to anything they either left with us or have new information for us. Is that, okay. So the first person that I might ask would be the complainant in the 8 complaints, and that is Danielle Stewart Delinas. I would ask people to hopefully restrict what they give us to either new information or additional observations that we have not already had an opportunity to hear. And as you know, last week we expressed a desire that we not hear what I would characterize as character witnessing information, because there is no complaint between the complainant and the respondents as to character. I hope the information will be confined to the facts. Thank you, Danielle.
I don't know that I have anything new to contribute. I would like to thank all of you for hearing the complaint and going through this process. I would like to note that the complaints were filed in May, so the process up until now is not in my control. So I would like that noted in the record, that this is not happening now because I wanted it to happen now. I would also just like to note that this isn't a forum to discuss the RTM process, Board of Ed process, or any of that. The issues brought up in that first hearing, Chromebooks, capital, insurance, they're all unrelated to the bigger picture of this ethics complaint. So I appreciate all of you. I appreciate your attention to this matter and your focus on it. I don't think I have anything else new to add.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Danielle? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As in the past, we took the respondents in the order of the complaints. So the first person that I would ask if there is additional information for us would be Mary Childs.
Thank you. Can you all hear me? So I submitted an email yesterday evening. It's probably later than evening, yesterday night. I apologize for my lateness. And that, I believe, was forwarded to you all? Yes? Okay. I just wanted to tease out some of the pieces of the ethics ordinance and then the guidance. What's that called? The Ethics Commission guidance. On the ethics website, so where I would go to find this additional guidance, I was unable to find the document. So that's the one that was dated September of 2021. I can find the ethics ordinance, I can find all of the rules that y'all need to manage under, but I don't see anywhere where this document that then fluffs out some of what our concerns are, or what I'm tangled up in right now. They're not there. So I looked on the Code of Ordinances, I looked on the ethics website, and even going back to look into the ethics agendas and minutes, based on the timestamp for this guidance, there's nothing in the minutes leading up to that say this has been approved and we're now moving it forward to be submitted. So there is, I noted it, June 3rd of 2021 reflects a discussion regarding the advisory statement. However, it's not included in any of the attachments. There's no backup document. The piece is not there. So I'm concerned that we're weighing so heavily on this piece, and it's not available on our public website. In terms of the violations that were submitted, the two areas that were cited were the 2.50.030A. And in the document that I shared last night, I tease out that as an elected RTM member, my role to participate in discussions, read materials, and vote on motions before the body. As an employee of the Board of Education, it is important for me to derive It is impossible for me to derive direct monetary gain or suffer a direct monetary loss, as the case may be, by reason of my official activity. So that, to me, is a response to what item A of the ethics code. For item C, which is the other one that's noted in the violation, there is no possibility of me deriving a direct monetary gain or suffering a direct monetary loss due to casting a vote. So I think that goes back to what the code is, and those are the two areas that I was cited as violating. Can I continue, or? In terms of the advisory opinions, I'm just gonna read this. Heavily referred to Town of Waterford Ethics Commission advisory opinion is not included as a link from the chapter 2.50 section of the Town of Waterford ordinances. This document is not included in our town ordinances. This document is not contained in any of the 2021 meeting minutes for June or November, even though it's stamped and dated for September of that same year. So that, to me, raises a concern. So now looking at the paragraphs included in that document, paragraph 6, with the language that's in paragraph 6, I'm concerned because that means that the first selectman can't vote on his own budget. There are examples in this guidance, and I think it's not, either it's not specific enough or not clear enough to actually guide. The first selectman could not vote on any item that would benefit him, even if it was a perceived benefit. A spouse of a firefighter couldn't be able to vote on any fire services or emergency service item. For paragraph 7, I think the statement in paragraph 7 is concerning because no family member of a town employee could ever vote as a member of a town board or commission. So that eliminates a lot of people on our RTM, just by who they're related to. Board or commission members who have godparents of their children would be excluded from voting in their favor. Board or commission members who reportedly live at a firehouse and have an address that is utilized by the town would need to abstain from all fire services and emergency services items. Any parent who has children in the school system or recreation programs would need to abstain from voting on rec and parks and Board of Education items. So, as I said, this restriction would hinder a great deal of the people who are elected to vote on this body, and I think the narrow conversation is what's in the ethics. The broader conversation is what's in this guidance, and is it really feasible in a town our size with the people who are elected to vote on our boards and commissions? Or is there something that I'm tangled up in now because this language isn't clear enough? I think that's all I have to say. If there was something that was just submitted this evening by the minority chair of the RTM, is that something I could ask that we consider this evening? And how might we go about that?
Thank you. First, thank you for your testimony, Mary, and for the information that you gave us. To go to the information from the minority chair of the RTM, that would be Susan Driscoll, who has given each member of this a written packet. And at this point, the commission has not had time to review it. I don't believe everyone has had, I have not had time to review it.
Okay.
So at this point, perhaps when we're finished, there may be a desire of the commission to ask her to take us through it. I don't know.
Are there questions for me?
I was gonna say, are there any questions for Mary? Yes, Chris?
Hi, Mary, thanks for your testimony. A couple questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Everybody hear me? How would you define substantial? The word define substantial as it relates to ethics and the advisory note.
So I think that's the piece that we were grappling with at the last meeting, right? I think that's the onus is on the people who use that term in the guidance. What is it defined? How is that defined? I mean, it's not my take on it, is it?
Well, yeah, that's where I'm getting the question from. Just if you had to make a judgment call, what would you define that as?
I mean, it could be quantified, it could be, percentage, to me, that means, more than a minor, more than a small amount.
Okay. Second question is, would you deem that the Board of Education as a business that you're associated with?
Business that I'm associated with. I consider business either, most often I consider business profit, and I don't know that they turn a profit, but, business in what definition, I guess I'm gonna ask you.
Well, in the advisory note, it says, proper discharge of duties or employment in the public interest of the responsibilities prescribed by law today, believe or expected that they or their immediate family or a business in which they are associated will derive direct monetary gain or suffer a direct monetary loss. So I guess my question is, do you associate the Board of Education as the business that you're associated with?
I'm associated with the Board of Ed, I've never considered them a business, but, in this sense, they're my employer, so.
Okay. Okay, just kind of.
I haven't considered them a business, but, that might be semantics.
Thank you.
Adam?
So you mentioned in your letter that you couldn't find the advisory opinion on the website.
Right.
Okay. So you couldn't find the advisory opinion on the website, but you did confirm for us, I think, that you had gotten a copy of the advisory opinion
Understood.
from the clerk. Okay.
Right.
So you're just kind of pointing out that it's not available, but you did see it, right?
I am, but if we're relying so heavily on this opinion, on this document, it would seem appropriate to have it linked somewhere, connected, like if it's gonna supersede the ordinance and what A and C say, it seems that should be available somewhere publicly.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's
Yeah, just confirm, okay.
thank you.
And I just, the rest of it kind of goes into just, it seems to just kind of spell out that the ordinance as written becomes too broad in scope, like nobody would be able to deconflict themselves if we start looking at second and third order relationships.
And I think that's something that our town needs to consider. Sadly, it's on your shoulders, I think, all of you. But I think in a town this size, where we need people to fill seats and on commissions and boards, that may be where you need to consider, because how many, there are many of us who are related or connected somehow, just by enjoying the town that we live in, so.
So there's kind of 2 points to follow up on that, right? So the complaints before us aren't about siblings or independent children, that sort of thing. It's about people that pay themselves work for the Board of Ed and are potentially voting on Board of Education budgets, right? So it just seems like it's a little beyond the scope.
So in A and C in the ordinance, it doesn't bring into some of the facets that are in the guidance. So in citing the violations as A and C, I think I didn't violate anything, based on my understanding of those two lines. When we get into perceived and the other areas that are a little more tangled, I keep using my word, sorry, I'll come up with a different one. I think that's where the consideration is. Because in terms of A and C, I don't feel that I violated those.
Thank you. Are there any other questions at this time? Thank you very much. Actually, I would like to point out one thing, because to my memory, the advisory opinion is listed under the Ethics Commission on its website. It's the second or third item under where it says to go to the ordinances.
I was unable to.
It has been for some time, I believe. If something has changed, I wanna thank you for pointing that out.
So in the 3 links, so in the electronic version, there's 3 links. That's where I looked to find said documents and was unable to.
Interesting, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Any other questions? No? Our, next, we will be hearing from Tim Fioravanti. If you choose to present any additional information or speak to us, Tim, your choice.
I have nothing further to add, thank you.
Thank you. I would point out that, we also have a written document from, Mr. Fioravanti, somewhere here. It's got a lot of paper here.
It's the last page.
No, it should be the last page. In your packet, I wanna point that out to the members and everyone. Yes, oh, I'm so glad to see it, since the town clerk knows I had to go back to my house to get it, having left it there, so that we could include it in the packet. Thank you. Okay, just wanna make sure everybody sees that. Next would be Kristen Gonzalez. Kristen, do you have additional information for us or care to choose to address anything else?
Yeah,
Please feel free.
Thank you. The only thing that I want to address, because I did not say it at the public hearing, was that we have not voted on our contract. So when you talk about, you need to separate our contract from the Board of Ed budget in a way, because we did not vote on our contract, and that was pre-negotiated and is part of the budget. But that, to me, is a reason that we should be allowed to vote on the budget, because our contract is not really a part of it when it's pre-done. And I also wanted to make the comment, because I did make it the first time, that, like Mary said, if you go by some of this guidance, the first selectman and the second selectman and the whole board of selectmen should not be allowed to vote on their budget, because their salary is a high percent of that budget. And so if you are going to say that we can't vote on our budget, are you going to tell them they can't vote on theirs? It doesn't, you have to think about that when you're making your decision. So I don't see how it could affect us and not them. That doesn't seem fair. And I think that's all. Do you have any questions for me?
So, for the Board of Selectmen, I guess I have a question, and anybody can answer this. Would the Board of Selectmen budget be able to be passed at all if they couldn't vote on it?
I suppose it could be passed on to the other committees and just know that precluding, okay, the Board of Selectmen one is going to be approved by the Board of Finance and the RTM.
With the current structure of the town?
Excuse
I don't
me,
know.
I think we wanna try to keep the discussion confined to the complaints as much as we can, if possible. I know it's difficult.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to answer. I don't have the charter in front of me and all that, but
And the point of the question is that the Board of Education budget can be passed without Board of Education employees voting on it, on the RTM.
what I would like to ask, honestly, that if you, let me get my notes out. If you do, I do believe that my votes are not in violation of the ordinances and the ethics codes. And I do want to ask you that if you do make the ruling that we did do something unethical, that you do specify what substantial benefits we would be receiving. And I would like to request also that, what you mean by the public's perception, like what do you think? Because like a box of pencils, not really a substantial benefit, like the example that was given last time. So I would like some clarification on that. And then also just one more part. You keep talking about voting on a Board of Ed budget, but a Board of Ed budget, Mr. GR comes to us many times in the last 3-4 years asking for more money. We've always voted on that. It's part of the budget, it's part of the Board of Ed's money that we are saying yes to. So if you perceive that us voting yes could be something that could be perceived as a conflict, or, that could give us us some benefit because we voted yes and Mr. Jared's gonna give us more pencils, as was stated. I just want you to know, we vote on other things. We vote on the playground equipment and things come up. We vote on the reading curriculum. We vote on pieces and pieces throughout the year. So I would like guidance. Are you telling us we can't vote on any piece of a Board of Ed budget in that case? And I think you should, strongly think about that because, like Mary said, there are so many of us that are involved in different pieces of the town and parts of the town, and it would affect other areas and other, people that are voting. Your children are benefiting if you're a parent, like Mary said, or if you work for one organization. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Does anyone have any other questions? Chris, yes.
Hi, thanks for being here with us tonight. I just wanna make sure I've watched the video, the May 7th, several, very long video, but well worth the watch. This was a motion to make an adjustment to the overall budget that was voted on, not the actual budget, if I understand, if I watched the video correctly. So, in that motion that was voted on was a deduction in the overall budget that you voted on. So, I think that's where I'm getting hung up on, is that the Board of Ed potentially lost money out of that budget because it was proved that that deduction was gonna be moved from a capital, from one expenditure to another expenditure. So the budget that was started the meeting was not the budget that finished the meeting because the motion obviously was approved. So I just wanna make sure I understood that correctly.
So,
I just want to clarify that. As I understand it, we might understand two different things here. So it's important for us to all be on the same page. The Board of Ed reduced the amount equal to the value of the Chromebooks. The superintendent understood, and the town understood, that they were going to put that amount of money into the town capital account. So all the youngsters, all the Chromebooks were going to be purchased. There was going to be no loss of Chromebooks stuff. The insurance itself was reduced because they went from what we call a self-funded insurance to a premium-based insurance, and when boards do that, it's less expensive to the board. So there were savings, so that was reduced. So, but it's my understanding that everything was, so there was no loss of Chromebooks, no teacher was gonna do without Chromebooks, and the insurance was, that was a savings, and the board came forward to the town with that savings and said, here it is, as boards often do with towns in order to develop trust. It's my understanding of what happened.
I didn't see
Thank
that,
you.
I didn't see that in the meeting.
Chris?
So I think there was a motion on the floor to reduce the budget,
Correct.
to move it into another line of accounting, so that's why I just wanna make sure.
And that would be the case. They would make a motion to reduce the Board of Ed budget by 500 and some odd thousand. Because the RTM can't make line item decisions, they in fact said, well, we're gonna reduce this amount of money. It happens to be the amount of the Chromebooks, just happens to be that. And the superintendent understands that that amount of money is gonna go into the capital account on the town side, and all of those Chromebooks are going to be purchased. Just, and it would look like a motion to reduce. It says it's a motion to reduce.
Right, and that's what everyone voted on.
Exactly. But it is not an actual, there were going to be Chromebooks.
Correct, it was just paid for through another
Right,
line of
but
accounting.
but the process was, we have to reduce this to put it on the town side.
Okay.
Thank you. Kathy, Chris, anything else? Anything else for Kristen? Thank you. The last respondent would be Kayla Mullen, and Kayla, I know you're here, yes, there you are. Do you care to give us any additional information We need you to speak in to the microphone.
The only thing you're missing in the packet is my letter from HR.
And I believe we had that last week, and perhaps I will make sure that that gets included in the information that's posted on the website as well.
Okay.
Does everybody know what letter I am referring to? I believe I handed it out at the last meeting. Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We also received a packet of information, which is somewhere here, here it is, regarding this complaint, and this is from Susan Driscoll, who is the minority leader on the RTM. I don't know if commission members have had a chance to either read it, if they would choose to have her come and take us through it, or not at this time, and that is entirely up to you. I have not read this, and it's pretty lengthy. Yeah, I am not either.
It's a lot of, it appears to
okay.
be about Chromebooks again, which I don't know if we need to go into.
Yeah. Okay. Hearing nothing? Okay. We'll move on. In the packet of information that you got, we also have a somewhat lengthy letter. My copy is not signed. Oh, great.
It's in the middle.
Hold on a moment. The first letter. Here it is, from Michael Ricchetti. Excuse me. Is Michael Ricchetti here? Yes. Is there anything you would like to add to your letter, Mr. Ricchetti?
No, I think it speaks for itself.
Thank you very much.
I would stand for questions if anyone has.
All right, Mr. Ricchetti has indicated he will come and speak to us if we have any questions. I know you got this letter a couple days ago. Were there any questions for Mr. Ricchetti that anyone would care to ask at this time? Seeing none, thank you very much for your interest and your input. Also in your packet, you will see questions that came from the commission, from Commissioner Member Kathy Patterson, and regarding the town attorney's contributions to the Waterford RTM budget discussion. And it's a little complicated. It's a copy of an email because I passed her questions on to him and he responded. Essentially, this had to do with the role of the town attorney. Does everybody have that in their packet? I know I shared it with you. Does anybody have any questions about it? Thank you. We also have a letter to the Ethics Commission from Lori Wolfley, who is a member of the Board of Education. And I see that she is here. I don't know if anybody has any questions about that. Thank you very much for your letter and your interest.
Thank you.
And I think there is a letter from Marcia Benvenuti, who is a member of the Board of Education, addressed to the RTM and submitted as public comment on May 14th. Is Marcia here? Is there anything, questions anybody has about this letter that they would like to address to her at this time? Thank you. Thank you for your interest and for your input. Finally, there is in your packet a letter from Glenn Patterson, Chair of the Waterford Board of Finance, and Bill Sheehan, Member of the Waterford Board of Finance, concerning the capital budgeting projects. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you. Okay. Does everybody have, no? And finally, we discussed Tim Fioravanti's submission. That's what's in your packets. Does everybody have one? Good. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions from you would have to come up to the microphone to ask your question, please. Thank you.
We just want to know if we will be able to view
Yes.
those letters. At some
All of
point.
this information
On the back
is
table.
in the back at the table when you came in the door that we just reviewed. The only exception that is not in there is the letter from Susan Driscoll, because we only just received it.
Thank you.
Does that work for everybody? Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Oh,
Is
so
there-
sorry.
Is there any chance we could,
You would have to come up and use the microphone to ask your question. Introduce yourself. Thank you.
hi, Marcia Benvenuti, Board of Ed. Is there any chance we could get a copy of that letter from Susan Driscoll?
She brought quite a few copies, and I have one here, which you're welcome to take and read, because we will be asking her to submit it digitally if she can, so we can include it easily in the packet for everybody to review. But you're welcome, I think.
If that's your
We
only
can
copy,
share.
I don't wanna take your copy. But,
I'll be stamping it in tomorrow, and there'll be plenty of copies available.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else? Thank you. I think at this point, and I'm looking to the commission, are we finished with the hearing of the complaints? To the best of our knowledge. Thank you. We will move on to item 8 on our agenda, which is the commission determination of any future action or final determination. First, I would like to take the opportunity to clarify somewhere here some of our options. And I'm gonna be looking to Attorney Londergan to make sure I get them all. We can choose to close the public hearing at this time. If we do that, we are finished taking the input, and we are required by statute, no, we are not required by statute. I will ask Attorney Londergan to please clarify that.
I'm pushing it, I'm not getting green. Oh, there it goes, okay. It's not by statute, but it's by your code of ethics. Just to expand upon that, basically, once you're done with the public hearing portion of your investigation, you then have 10 business days to render a decision. And then the decision can be whatever it turns out to be. And you probably have a number of different options and alternatives available to you.
Thank you. So one option is to end the public hearing now. If we do that, we have 10 business days, including today. We could, I believe, then come to a determination and a vote right now following the termination of the public hearing. We could take up to 10 business days to continue to digest this information, meet again, and then come to a decision. Okay. Now, so the first question probably is, do we want to conclude the public hearing at this time? If so, I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to close,
You have to
Public
use your
hearing.
microphone.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing this evening.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
The motion's been properly made and seconded. Is there any discussion of the motion to close the public hearing at this time? Understanding that that does start the clock. Yes.
So,
Did anyone have a discussion on the motion?
yeah, is there discussion in a private setting, executive session, or is this all just public from here? Like, is this just a,
It is we asked that question, I believe, earlier, and it is my understanding, and I will look to Attorney Londergan, that at this point, from the point that this became public, all of our deliberations and discussions are in public. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Thank you.
so we close the public hearing and we just start talking right here, right now, it sounds like.
That is correct.
Correct.
That is my understanding, Attorney
Yep.
Londergan.
You then have the option of doing that. You have the option of closing the public hearing, recessing this meeting, scheduling another one within the next 10 business days, which would be on or before October 30th, and we come back and you deliberate then. If there was some desire to digest anything you heard this evening, revisit anything from a week and a half ago, etc. But closing it just starts the clock. You can vote tonight, you can vote no later than October 30th.
That would, today's the 16th, would that probably be, business days.
Business days,
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you for that clarification.
I went to law school to avoid math, so let me just, 1, 2. I have the 10th business day as Thursday, October 30th.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on the motion to close the public hearing? The only thing I would add to that is that if the information we have leaves any further questions in your mind that might need to be clarified from an outside source, then we would not want to close the public hearing quite yet. That is the question for you to consider. Is there any discussion? Kathy, did you have?
Yeah, I have some hardship, in that I did not read, the letter, that came through, this evening. And I don't want to have come this far and, do anything without being able to, as you say, digest it. I want everybody to feel like they were given due process and that we are being thoughtful and open to ideas. My opinion would be that we close the investigation and be able to go back and digest the information we were given this evening.
Sue is here, right? Do we want to ask her to talk to the letter?
I still feel.
Is there's,
I still feel like I need to read it.
okay.
I still feel like I need to read it. That because she comes up and summarizes it, doesn't necessarily mean that there won't be points in it.
Does anyone else have any other opinion? So again, the motion is to close the public hearing. The next action that we would take is whether we feel that we want to reconvene at a later date or if we want to come to a determination now. Okay. So is there any more discussion on the motion to close the public hearing?
We could deliberate now and not necessarily come to a vote.
That is correct
Okay.
also, yes. That is my understanding, you are correct. Sorry about that, I was getting ahead of myself. Okay. So again, on the motion to close the public hearing.
Am I correct in understanding that,
He's on.
Bring it closer.
am I correct in understanding that only the 5 regular members will be voting on this motion?
Yes, that is correct. Okay. So the motion has been made, seconded, and discussed. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Okay. The public hearing is officially ended.
Does that mean the video officially ends?
No. Sorry. Okay. That reason is because we have not adjourned. So the public hearing is over. We can have discussion now, or we can choose to and vote, or we can just choose to vote, or we can choose to just adjourn and go home and come back. But in any case, the clock is running for 10 days. So, as we know, that is until October 30th. So, I think we have verified that with the attorney. Thank you. So, at this point, the question is, are we ready to come to any conclusion? Because I tend to talk, sometimes a lot, I can offer my opinion first. I think I might perhaps like to do that. Does that work? Sometimes people don't like it when the chair is the person who talks all the time. Other times, people don't care. Could be that we don't care. So I'd like to indicate, I guess, my feelings on this topic and see how the commission feels about that and where we think we want to go. So as we have occasionally discussed in many respects for several hours, we have our town ordinances, our ethics ordinances, and those ethics ordinances have been supplemented by an advisory opinion that was issued in September of 2021. The ordinances, in many cases, mirror what comes precisely from the state. A lot of the language, actually, and the timeframes are state ethics law driven, and in the advisory opinion, it came at a later date. It's, from reading the advisory opinion, I think indicates that the advisory opinion was in its attempting to set this table perhaps to allow people to understand that it was concerned about the perception of among the public perception of conflicts of interest could also be damaging to town government in terms of the confidence of the people in town, in their town government. So when presented with the 8 complaints last spring, this commission undertook a preliminary investigation of those complaints as required by ordinance. At the end of that preliminary investigation, this commission decided, in light of the attention that the advisory opinion indicated perhaps should be considered when undertaking issues about the public perception of conflict of interest, this commission determined that in this case, it was appropriate to move the discussion to a public setting, and that's what brought us to this public hearing, which is why we've been going through this process. So the public hearing, which we had last week for 3 hours, and we've been here for 50 minutes today, examined the situation, the ordinances, the advisory opinion, and we heard a lot of information and we heard a lot of surrounding discussion, and pretty much I think it's fair to say exhausted most of our questions of the complainants or the respondents. I don't want to speak out of hand for anyone on the commission, but it's my opinion, having been asked 2 or 3 times if you had any more questions, that we've pretty much exhausted that, and we did that in the public eye. In that discussion, I know that we heard from the respondents and the complainants, and there was no issue about the fact that they voted. That is not what's under question here. What's under question is whether or not a perception of a conflict of public interest was created that might undermine confidence in town government. This commission, I believe, went to great lengths to hear this and to investigate and satisfy what could be a perception of a conflict of interest. We spent quite a few hours talking about that last week and have accumulated quite a bit of testimony to that point. So consequently, I feel that, and some at the prompting perhaps of this advisory opinion, we underwent that and have, I believe, satisfied the interests of the public in worrying that actions that are taken by elected officials are never scrutinized. And I believe we satisfied that. I also am not able to come up with, and we were asked to do this, an indication of gain that was realized by any of the people in this process. I know that there has been some discussion around that and some requests that we indeed more clearly define it. I don't know if it's possible to do that. However, I do feel that the respondents have yet to show me the gain that they accomplished personally through those votes that they took at the RTM in their budget. And part of that is because the votes they took were based on the quote total bottom line, not based on the ability for line item discretion. So this leads me to come to a couple of conclusions. Number one, there's no question about their votes. Number two, I believe that yes, those votes could be interpreted indeed as a conflict. However, number three, I believe this commission has bent itself over backwards actually to exhaust an investigation into that to the best of our ability as an appointed commission. And so I cannot find a way to, or an issue in, I cannot come to a finding of violation of something that I cannot either define or we can come to any agreement on. So that leaves me with wondering where we're going to go next. And to that point, I would like to introduce a motion for the commission to consider at this time, and we can discuss it extensively if we wish. So that motion, I would like to make the motion that the Ethics Commission determines it cannot conclusively state there's a violation of the Code of Ethics or the advisory opinion because the advisory opinion, as written, is ineffective, deficient, and lacks the clarity to expressly advise employees and elected officials if a vote on the total bottom line budget rises to the level of the respondents realizing a direct monetary gain or suffer a direct monetary loss. That would be my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Yeah, I think based on what you're,
Excuse me, I want to recognize people before they start. Adam.
so to the points you just made, right, I think we need to refer to the Mike Ricchetti letter and the transcript specifically, because the transcript specifically mentions a very similar scenario that has pretty specific guidance that says Board of Ed employees shouldn't be voting on their budget.
I believe the transcript was 2020, and some of these Board of Ed members were not on the board.
I need to advise everyone, because it was a long motion, I printed it out and I have a copy. And I failed to give it to everyone. Please note, it's the first paragraph. The second is for future discussion. Okay, Kathy, you were speaking, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you, Paul. I noted the AI transcript, at the end of Mr. Rocchetti's letter. At first I was confused by the current letter with the AI transcript, and then noted it was back in 2020. I think the point was made that historically, there's been some concern about what is essentially what we already knew. I'm new to this commission, but I think the advisory letter was written because there was some confusion among board members as to whether and what they should vote on or for, and what was a violation of ethics and what wasn't, and what might people think regarding perception. So I think there were all kinds of questions in 2021, and that brought us forth to this advisory note. But in any case, the transcript was 2020
Thank you. Let me first just see if there's anyone else who will be voting that has a comment or a question. Because again, the voting in this case, I believe, will be the 5 members. Sorry. No one else? Okay. Yes, Alan.
I think we find ourselves in a little bit of a quandary here. And that is, I believe we have an ordinance that is in direct contradiction to the advisory opinion. The ordinance, and I'll spare reading it all, but basically the operative sections of the ordinance calls for finding of substantial conflict. However that may be defined, I would imagine that would be within the purview of this commission during deliberations on a certain set of facts and circumstances in determining whether we feel that there's been a substantial conflict of interest. But yet we're saddled by an advisory opinion that essentially says that all you need is a perception of a conflict of interest, and we are then bound as a commission to a finding of a violation of the ordinance. And I can't reconcile those two. And it's for that reason I've not really cared a whole lot about what went down at that RTM meeting. Because I feel like we have to find a violation. And then what? For the reasons Betsy stated, we then determine that, okay, we're bound by this advisory opinion, and I questioned myself today, would it be unethical for me to vote of a finding of no violation in light of an advisory opinion that says I as a member am bound by the advisory opinion? So there's an inherent conflict, and I think we need to fix that. Whether that's, we can't, for me, advisory opinions are usually issued when there's a set of facts and circumstances that's submitted to a commission where you say, okay, I've got a friend, and that friend has this set of circumstances, and if they were to do this, that, or the other thing, would you determine that to be a violation of your ordinance? But we have an advisory opinion that basically prefaces its finding or ruling by going into a history of something that happened previous to the adoption of this advisory opinion, and then basically did not give us any of the facts and circumstances that gave rise to the advisory opinion, and moreover said it doesn't apply to the circumstance that we used to come up with this advisory opinion. And I don't know what it was. I wasn't around at that time, and I don't know if any of us were, but the fact of the matter is we don't have those set of facts and circumstances in which to determine whether this advisory opinion should apply, but it basically says you don't have any choice. If you believe there's a perception of a conflict of interest, and by definition, when the complainant filed the complaints, she as a member of the public felt it's a violation because of the perception of the conflict of interest. And she herself stated, we're not looking to punish these 4 respondents, but these are the rules in which we're operating under, and under those rules, there's a violation. So I'm more concerned about that, although I'm not insensitive to the issue that's been raised by others, and that is if you take these two together, literally, we might have a difficult time getting anything done in this town. And so something needs to be fixed. If there's a problem with the ordinance, we need to fix the ordinance. If there's a problem with the advisory opinion, we need to fix the advisory opinion. But like I said, the difficulty, without repeating myself too much, is I don't know how we do anything other than to find a violation and determine that we're not going to punish, and that the solution is going to be that we fix this problem that we find ourselves in, or we just choose to disregard the advisory opinion that we are bound to follow and have a finding of no violation. And that would then, I guess, come down to whether in fact we feel that there was a substantial conflict, which brings us full circle back to all the other issues that we've spent so many hours debating. Those are my comments.
Thank you.
Betsy?
Hold on. Any of the other regular voting members?
I definitely add to that.
Adam?
So yeah, to that point, right, so the question ultimately to the commission is, do we want to sign off on Board of Ed employees voting on Board of Ed budgets? Or, and again, the framework that you mentioned was find a violation and recommend no punishment and maybe some clarification on this, but that is the question I think that's being asked, is should we endorse that or not?
Kathy?
I don't know. I've had substantial issues with this advisory recommendation. It looks broader to me every time I read it. It looks like it was meant for the commission to do whatever they wanted under, I wasn't sure what circumstance, but I felt you could drive a truck through it. I think it was meant to be broad, so the commission would have broad power, maybe, I'm not sure why, but it is in clear conflict. And then I'm struggling with everything we've been given to say, well, where is the answer between the conflict of the initial ordinance and the advisory opinion? And I questioned, as you did, well, what does ethical mean for me? And if the rules are broken, and we brought a complaint before us, if there's conflict between two governing documents, then isn't that our issue? And I'm not sure how I provide a judgment for somebody else with essentially broken and sometimes contradictory statements and documents. I really struggled with this, fellow commission members. It was quite difficult, and I struggled with my own ethics because they were in conflict with each other. And I'm not sure I can say that somebody was to be in violation of something. If I was told I was in violation of my ethics, I mean, I can't think of anything you could say to me that might be more, would stir my emotion. Kathy, you're unethical. That was, and I've worked so hard to be ethical. And here I am trying to at first make these documents work for me as a commission member, and then to make them work for the commission. Thus, my wanting to take a break earlier and give consideration to this. But finding someone in violation of something with contradictory guidance, that's hard for me.
Thank you, Kathy. Chris has not come in. Sarah, you could be next, and then Paul.
I think that Alan stated exactly what I was raising my hand for originally, eyeing Jeff over here on my left, because you state in your motion, Betsy, the advisory opinion as written is ineffective, deficient, and lacks clarity to expressly advise employees and elected officials if a vote on the total bottom line budget rises to the level of the respondents realizing a direct monetary gain or suffer a direct monetary loss. Number one, whether or not a law or your advisory opinion is good or bad, it is in place for the town. So do you say I am going to be completely ignoring an advisory opinion or statute or any of the above things just because it's a bad, and I agree with everything that's been said, but do you ignore it? Are we allowed to ignore it? And you stating monetary gain or direct monetary loss, it doesn't necessarily talk about just monetary. It's a gain, a personal gain, whether it's a job promotion or you know, a hiring or firing situation. I don't think it has to always be monetary. So you might want to adjust your motion, Madam Chair, respectfully.
Good points, thank you. If I could ask a question to yours before I get to you, Paul, would that be a recommendation to adjusting it to realizing a personal gain or personal loss?
That
would satisfy that particular?
I believe, in my mind, that would be a better statement.
Because I would be happy to do that at this time if the seconder of the motion would agree.
I agree.
So you have a written copy, so I would restate it, realizing a personal gain or suffer a personal loss. Excuse me for a minute, I have to write that in or else I will not remember. And Paul, if you would indulge me for one second. Along with that, and there's been a lot of discussion about that, we as a commission then would have opportunities to either repeal an advisory opinion, to adjust it, or to rewrite it and substitute a new one. Those would be opportunities for us to take as a commission, should we choose to, at the conclusion, once this is, matter is concluded.
Yes.
Okay. Paul?
I agree, Alan, with what you've said. I think an important distinction that needs to be made is that by its very nature, the ordinance, the ethics ordinance, as well as the advisory opinion, are vague, intentionally vague, to apply to any specific circumstance that might arise. But our being here, what we are being asked to do is to apply those vague statements like substantial or those general terms to a specific situation. In this particular case, did these particular individuals derive a direct monetary gain or suffer a direct monetary loss? And was it substantial? I don't like being in a situation where I have to be I'd like it to be spelled out exactly what substantial means. Give me a percentage, give me a figure. But that's not the nature of an ordinance or an advisory opinion. And I think we have to take the testimony that we've heard here and apply what is in the code of ethics to this particular situation. I think that's the best we can do.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or discussion of motion?
I guess I do have.
Excuse me, Alan, Adam, I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks. So, the motion that you're making is about the advisory opinion itself, right? And I guess I'm gonna ask for some living history here. I believe you were part of the Ethics Commission when this was drafted.
I was an alternate.
Do you recall having objections to it at the time?
There was a lot of, oh boy. You're asking a 74-year-old person to use their memory to something that happened in 2021.
You can say I don't recall, I'm just asking, do you happen to remember, was there any
This is embarrassing. There was substantial discussion about it. It took a while. So specifically, what are you seeking?
Well, you're saying in your motion that as written, it's ineffective, deficient, lacks clarity.
Yes.
So did anybody express that when it was written?
Oh, there was a lot of discussion about that, yes. However, I'm going to say that this motion for this instance, I have a great deal of difficulty refuting that it is ineffective, deficient, and lacks clarity to advise us on the situation here because of the issue at hand, which has to do with the vote of the respondents on the total bottom line of their budget, and that vote's relationship to a direct personal gain or loss. As far as the history, I don't recall with any clarity.
Very well.
Is there any other discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote on the motion, and again, I'd like to remind the commission that it is the 5 regular members who are to vote on the motion. I'm sorry for the 2 alternates who have given all their time and consideration of this. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstain?
Excuse me, who voted, did you vote no? Thanks.
Abstentions? The motion passes. Is there anything else anybody feels for the good of the body we need to do tonight? I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the complainant, and I want to thank the respondents. Because painful as though this may have been in so very many respects, well, and I want to thank everyone on this commission who's really tired of me. This has been painful, yes. Has it been positive for our town? Perhaps remains to be seen, but I sincerely believe that it provides a path forward to us doing a better job in the future. And as people, all of us here in this room, who care about how the town does its business, it's really refreshing to understand your commitment, so thank you very much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Kathy, is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? All in favor of the motion to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, we are adjourned. Thank you.